Hey, welcome to Olas Dev Academy. Just a brief disclaimer, we are providing the Olas Dev Academy as an educational tool for developers interested in building the Olas ecosystem. None of the content provided in this episode or the following episodes is to be construed as financial advice. Thank you very much. This is the introduction to Olas. We'll cover why it matters and what's in it for you. More specifically, let's have a quick look at what we'll cover today. So we'll go over who we are, then we'll go into why Olas, and then what's in it for you as a developer. So who am I? I'm David, co-founder and CEO of Valory. I'm also a founding member of Olas DAO. Previous life, I did a PhD in economics. And our mission at Valory is to enable groups of people and individuals to own and co-own AI systems. Today, we're basically building decentralized autonomous agents. And if any of this is new terminology to you, then this video will walk you through what all that means. So why Olas? We'll cover the evolution of autonomous agents, then we'll dive into the introduction on decentralized autonomous agents and specifically what Olas enables in that context. We'll compare AI agents with autonomous agents, and we close out with some applications and use cases. Now, before I get into it, just want to make clear Olas is live and in production. Over more than 800,000 transactions have been made by agents across the Olas ecosystem, which now includes 8 blockchains, 7 of them EVM chains, as well as Solana. So here you can see, especially this year, the growth in transaction has been rather phenomenal, and therefore it's the right time to get involved. But what is an autonomous agent? To understand that, let's first kind of define in a very kind of schematic way what we mean by an autonomous agent. So in a very basic sense, it's a software entity that performs arbitrary tasks on behalf of a user or another program, and it does so with some degree of independence or autonomy. So you can see the schematic where the agent is basically some level of implementation that perceives signals, events, other kind of information from its environment, and then ultimately acts upon that environment. Now, the agent internals are obviously specific to the agent implementation. One way to characterize agents is to kind of classify them by how reactive or proactive they are, by how social they are. We have many different types of implementations of agents today. Some of them are rather simple, rules-based, others are highly complex. Some involve like deterministic computation, others are non-deterministic in the sense that if you rerun the agent in the same context, it might potentially do something different. And then where it gets really interesting is if you have multiple agents interacting. So that's referred to as multi-agent systems. And this allows, obviously, for more complex outcomes to be emerging effectively out of the interactions from these agents. And it also is relevant when we talk about decentralization. Now, in the recent, I would say 10 years or so, we had 2 major evolutions for autonomous agents, 2 major unlocks. One was smart contract chains. What they enabled is that agents can now permissionlessly contract and transact. So as blockchains enable that for humans, they probably better so do that for autonomous AI agents, because any agents can immediately spin up a wallet and then take actions on chain, and can then utilize smart contracts on chain to, for instance, contract with other agents, transact with them, and so on. The other big unlock are large language models, specifically, but more generally, advanced generative AI. They enable agents to, quote unquote, think better. And so in recent years, we have seen like a vast evolution in and fast change in the agent landscape when it comes to use cases and what's possible. Now, when you think about agents, one thing which becomes quite interesting in the blockchain context is to think about how can autonomous agents be created that are somewhat decentralized, i.e. that there's no single entity controlling the agent. Some people will immediately jump to the conclusion that this means we should deploy the agent on chain as a smart contract, but the problem with this is that then it's not really meeting the definition of an autonomous agent. If we go back to the previous slides, remember that one key aspect of agents is their proactivity, and a smart contract cannot be proactive. It always needs a transaction to trigger it. So the way we can get around this is that we basically build autonomous agents as these hybrid on-chain, off-chain systems that are secured on-chain, have a smart wallet on-chain, but also have an off-chain component. And that's exactly what we do at Olas. And then what we get as a result is we can kind of borrow some of those crypto-native properties, make these agents as arbitrarily intelligent as we want, yet maintain the flexibility of a more sort of Web 2, quote-unquote, experience. So more specifically, the way Olas does this is that we kind of offer, and when I say we here, I mean the ecosystem, the protocol. Olas offers a protocol and a stack to build these kind of decentralized versions of agents. So the stack allows you to code up said agents, and then the protocol facilitates their registering, managing on-chain, as well as all the things around managing their wallets and so on. You'll learn about this in the context of this academy in more detail. Now, where can we think about Olas in relation to other technologies in this ecosystem of autonomous agents and AI agents? Well, I think at the very bottom, you can think of like there being the AI tools and the large language models. So, for instance, OpenAI and Anthropic are providers of closed source versions of these very powerful large language models and other kind of generative AI models. Then you have also open weights models, which, for instance, Llama from Meta falls into, which you can download from Hugging Face and run on your own machine. These models by themselves aren't agents. So what then people do is they build agent frameworks around those models. In the Web 2 space, one particular, or Trad AI space, one particular good example is LangChain. You might also have heard of PyAutoGen, also potentially heard of AutoGPT. There's many. And then in the Web 3 world, maybe you have heard of Fetch AI, and then OpenAI, which is what we are offering at Valory. Olas basically takes this a step further, where rather than focusing on these sort of single agents, we also offer this primitive of a decentralized agent, as we just mentioned. And really, the reason is that we ultimately want anyone to own or co-own these kind of decentralized AI systems that are arbitrarily powerful, but also transparent and reliable and robust. So before we continue, it's actually quite important to understand then the difference of what some people refer to as AI agents and how we use the term AI agents and autonomous AI agents. So just for simplicity of communication, and I guess to stay on the same page, at Valory, we tend to use the term AI agent for things that are closer to workflows or functions, in the sense that a certain task is delegated to a workflow, the AI agent executed, and then the response is yielded back to the calling entity, which can be another program or a human. In the context of Olas, what we are more interested in, rather than these workflow agents, is these fully autonomous agents, i.e. agents that run all the time, that may or may not use these AI models, that tend to use a lot of these workflows, that tend to interact with a lot of other agents, and in particular, agents that are outcomes focused rather than interaction focused. So to give you a concrete example, ChatGPT would be an example of an interaction focused product. You go as a human, you use it, you go away. ChatGPT at this point is idle. It does not continue working on your behalf. An outcomes focused product, in particular an autonomous AI agent, you instruct it to generate a certain type of outcome for you. You then go away. The system operates on your behalf, maybe for days on end, and then comes back with the result. So it's important to make this distinction because obviously we want to be on the same page in what we're building in this course. If you're after any of these other applications, then maybe that course wouldn't be the right fit for you. So what we're not going to do is kind of focus purely on AI models, or simple workflows, or purely on-chain agents. Now, before we dive into the technicalities, on a concrete level rather than this abstract level, which I just did, I think it's very important to understand some of the application and use cases that have been realized on our stack today, so that you get a sense of what's already possible and out there. So one very big and useful use case for Olas in particular is a product that's called Contribute. And what it enables is basically, so at the root of it, it's an autonomous agent. What it enables is basically the co-creation of the DAO social media strategy. So a DAO actually is not a centralized entity. There's all these token holders, they come together with the different ideas. And that actually presents a challenge for social media strategy, because you effectively have all these different ideas converging, and out should come something rather coherent. So the way this Contribute solves this is that there's this agent system that takes effectively inputs and generates outputs on behalf of the DAO. Today, what it does is that it basically continuously scans DAO members' contributions in the sense of their tweets about Olas, and then once it scanned those, it will assign points and also record this sort of knowledge in its memory. The agent uses large language models to score those contributions, and the design of the architecture basically ensures that then when the agent is about to post content, that this content is following the rules of the system, so to speak, as embedded in the autonomous agent. Currently, the Contribute system posts content once a week, but there's work on the way for it to effectively do this continuously. Completely different use case, but equally interesting, is focused on governance. The product is a demo product at this stage, although live, and it's called Governator. It's a wordplay, obviously, on a famous movie character, and the idea here really is that you have an agent that can take part in DAO governance. So you can, as a token holder, delegate your tokens or voting power to this agent, and then Governator continuously evaluates proposals that are associated with tokens in which it basically holds voting power. And then the autonomous service will use that voting power to vote on those proposals based on the delegated preferences. Now, one key thing here is that because the service has effectively all this power to vote, it's very important that we ensure that the voting is coherent. And here, actually, the decentralized architecture of the autonomous service helps, because now you can have multiple different agent instances in the service, individually evaluate the proposal, and then they come to consensus off-chain before they take on-chain action. This is a very concrete example where having this decentralized deployment mode actually increases the robustness of the product. The largest use case currently live on Olas has to do with prediction markets. It's actually a great example of a multi-agent system. So here, multiple agents interact, and an outcome of this is the prediction markets. There's actually 4 types of agents. 3 of them are displayed here: the market creating agent, the trading agents, the mechs who provide the predictions, and then the market closing agents. Throughout the course of this academy, you will learn more about this use case, so I will not go into all too much detail, but I highly recommend you look into it. It's super interesting. Now, all these agents are being built, and there's many other protocols and builders that are creating agents. And what I think is at the core of one of the convictions we have is that agents are already daily active users for protocols and chains, and really onboarding the next, be it billion or trillion daily active users into crypto actually works via onboarding agents, because agents fundamentally can abstract and simplify the complexity of what ultimately is quite an arduous user experience. So finally, I want to revisit this concept of multi-agent systems. All these use cases you've seen before actually already depend on each other. What I mean by this is there's different agents in the background that work together to enable those use cases. Govern Native, for instance, also relies on the mech. So does Contribute. And so what you have is, as more agents consume each other's output, we effectively get a larger and larger fleet of agents supporting each other in a specialized agent economy. Now I want to switch gear a bit and talk quickly about what's in it for you as a developer. So we'll cover the Olas tokenomics flywheel, the dev reward system, what dev rewards have historically been earned, and then we'll look at some of the targeted ways in which you can earn dev rewards that are available today. So first on the flywheel, it's important to understand that but more agents in the Olas ecosystem is generally a good thing, because more agents mean that there's generally more people who can run agents. We call them the operators, which generally leads to more revenue for those agents that those agents rely on. So example was the mech earlier. If you have in Olas Predict, you have these trading agents which rely on the mech. So the more people operate trading agents, the more mech demand there is. And these profits then can enable basically what's called these donations to developers. And donations is basically just a mechanism, but basically what happens is every epoch, which is currently a month, these developers of code contributions into the ecosystem can earn dev rewards, which are triggered by these donations. And so this generally leads to arrival of new developers who contribute even more code, leading to even better agents. So really the purpose of the Academy, in a way, is for you to become one of those developers to benefit from this flywheel. Now, how does it work in practice? Well, you start with writing code. As you'll learn, either components or agents. I'm not going to go into the detail exactly what this means. You'll find out in the next course. They're all built on the Olas Stack, specifically this framework called Open Autonomy. Ultimately, once you have this finished component or agent, you will mint it and make it available in the Olas registry. And at this point, it's generally ready to receive dev rewards. The specifics are then that basically it needs to be used in a service that receives these rewards. And when a service receives such rewards, these get basically distributed to all the developers who contributed to that service and boosted with Olas. Just to give you an idea, currently there's around 130,000 Olas being emitted every epoch for these kind of rewards. So some developers have actually done extremely well through the dev rewards. The mechanism is already live since over a year. And for instance, if you look here at 8baller, he earned over 1.2 million Olas in dev rewards for various agents and components he contributed. But some developers might have, just contributed a single tool and also earned significant rewards. Like here you can see Polywrap with the one contribution. Now, if you're ready to contribute already, you can do that. You can go to build.olas.network, where you find all the targeted builder paths. So those are very defined ways in which you can contribute to code today without having to, worry about the use case or anything. The Max AI tool, for instance, will tell you step by step what to do to earn code rewards. Similarly, we have opportunities to build entire agents for projects which are building inside the Olas ecosystem. You can go to olas.network/build, where you will find those opportunities listed, and then you can reach out to the Valory BD, who will match you with the relevant project to build the agent. Those are all paid opportunities, by the way. So this concludes my introduction to Olas. I hope it gave you a good first sense of what Olas is about. There will be many more episodes in this academy, which I'm sure will guide you for any open questions. Thank you very much.